In a single weekend, opposition to the AI buildout went from scattered town halls to a coordinated national movement. 142 protests across 42 states. And the pressure is landing everywhere at once. In a Texas courtroom where developers just lost their bid to force 2 projects through. And on America's largest power grid, where prices slammed into the ceiling for a third straight time, even as the industry keeps signing $10 billion deals. We begin with a milestone the data center industry hoped it would never see. The opposition has gone national. On Saturday, 142 protests unfolded across 42 states. The first coordinated, coast-to-coast mobilization against the AI infrastructure build-out. The effort was organized by a group called HumansFirst, co-founded by a former leader of the modern Tea Party movement. And it's drawing supporters from both ends of the political spectrum. One of the very few causes in America that does. The numbers explain why. Polling shows only about 14% of Americans would welcome a data center in their own community, and just a third approve of the current pace of construction. The movement claims it has already helped block an estimated $98 billion in projects and push more than 300 bills through state legislatures this year alone. This is no longer a series of local fights. It's one fight, everywhere. That grassroots anger is increasingly being tested in courtrooms. And in Texas, a rural county just scored a rare, clean win. In Hood County, southwest of Fort Worth, District Judge Bryan Bufkin threw out a lawsuit from developers National CRE Holdings and Greenland Capital, who argued their 2 proposed campuses, known only as Project Red and Project Yellow, deserved automatic approval. Their theory: county officials missed a 30-day statutory deadline to act on development plans. So under Texas law, the projects should be deemed approved by default. The judge disagreed, ruling the filings didn't meet the legal definition of development plans at all, meaning the automatic approval clock never even started. He granted the county's plea to the jurisdiction and dismissed the case with prejudice. So it can't be refiled in the same form. For counties across Texas watching developers turn to the courts, Hood County just drew the map for fighting back. And the fuel behind all of this resistance keeps coming back to one number: the price of power. PJM interconnection. The grid serving 65 million people across 13 states and Washington, D.C., just announced that its latest capacity auction cleared at the price cap of $325 per megawatt day. That's the third consecutive auction to slam into the ceiling. The auction procured over 134,000 megawatts, but still fell 6.8 gigawatts short of the grid's reserve margin target, while attracting only about 525 megawatts of genuinely new resources. Here's the line that will echo through every statehouse in the region. The Market Monitor calculates that data centers alone drove $6.3 billion of the $16.4 billion in total auction charges. Those costs flow directly into utility bills from Chicago to Virginia. And consumer advocates say the case for making data centers pay their own way just got stronger. The pressure on the grid is only half the story. Water tells the other half. And in Virginia's Roanoke Valley, it just boiled over into a public fight about the facts themselves, with a regional drought tightening and the nearby city of Lynchburg asking residents to voluntarily conserve. The Western Virginia Water Authority took the unusual step of issuing a statement to push back on what it calls misinformation about Google's planned data center in Botetourt County. The authority confirmed that during 2024 negotiations, a proposal was floated to supply the project 10 to 11 million gallons of water a day, and says its board flatly rejected it. The only binding deal, signed in the fall of 2025, starts the campus at 2 million gallons per day. eventually scaling to 8 million. Any bigger numbers circulating in the community, the authority says, are speculation. In a drought, though, even the official numbers are drawing hard questions. State leaders are taking notice. And New York has now gone further than any state in the country. Governor Kathy Hochul signed an executive order that makes New York the first state to halt new data center construction, temporarily barring environmental permits for any facility of 50 megawatts or larger until the state finalizes a formal environmental review process. Work expected to take about a year. But Albany's fight isn't over. The legislature already passed an even tougher measure, the Responsible Data Center Development Act, which would freeze permits at just 20 megawatts and create separate utility rate classes for data centers. Assembly Speaker Carl Heasta says he remains hopeful the governor will sign that bill too. Executive order or not, and the ripple effects are spreading. New Jersey's new Fair Share Act already forces large facilities to commit to 85% of their projected power costs for a decade. The era of the unconditional welcome mat is ending. Yet despite that regulatory wave, construction is pressing forward, and in Arizona, the ribbon just got cut. Prime Data Centers opened the first facility of its massive new hyperscale campus in Avondale, on the west side of Phoenix, the first of 5 planned buildings representing an investment of more than $3 billion. Each building spans 267,000 square feet and delivers 48 megawatts of critical IT load. At full build-out, the 66.5-acre campus will total 1.3 million square feet and 240 megawatts. Notably, in one of the nation's fastest-growing and driest data center markets, the campus runs on advanced closed-loop cooling designed to slash water consumption. A direct answer to the criticism dogging the industry across the Southwest. Phoenix has quietly become one of America's hottest data center corridors, in every sense of the word, and Prime is betting billions that the desert boom is just beginning. And the demand driving all that construction keeps smashing records. Just ask the former Bitcoin miners. Iron, which converted its crypto mining operations into AI infrastructure, announced $2.8 billion in new multi-year cloud services contracts with AI developers on Monday, sending its shares up as much as 19%. The company also raised its year-end target for annualized AI cloud revenue to more than $4 billion, and said roughly 85% of that figure is already locked in under contract. That last detail matters more than the headline number. After months of Wall Street hand-wringing that demand for AI computing might be cooling, here was a company showing signed commitments, not projections. The market read it exactly that way, lifting the entire compute sector alongside it. The Bitcoin miner to AI landlord pivot, once dismissed as a gimmick, is now printing some of the fastest revenue growth in the industry. Which brings us to our kicker, the single biggest check of the day. Hut 8 signed a second 15-year lease at its Beacon Point campus in Texas, worth $9.8 billion and covering 352 megawatts of IT capacity. With that signature, the entire 1 gigawatt campus is now fully leased. The tenant, an unnamed, investment-grade company, doubled its total footprint at the site to 704 megawatts. Added up, and Beacon Point alone now carries $19.6 billion in base contract value, rising to as much as $50.2 billion if every renewal option is exercised, throwing off roughly $655 million a year in net operating income at stabilization. Hut 8 shares climbed nearly 12% on the news. On the same day, protesters filled town squares in 42 states. The industry they're fighting signed one of the largest data center leases in American history. That collision isn't slowing down. It's accelerating. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment. It helps us cover more of these stories.